you'll think that.
Okay. I'm calling the meeting of the Harwich Finance Committee to order. This is, let's see, the February 26, 2026. I would like to have a roll call of the members that are here first, starting with the people who are on remotely. Scott?
Scott Norm here.
Mark?
Mark Peterson here.
Dana?
Dana here.
And starting with Mark.
Here. Amaris.
Mark Amaris.
Dan Tork here.
Dan Tork.
Peter Hughes here.
Peter Hughes here, and my name is Bob McCready. Let people know that this meeting will be video and audio recorded and live broadcasted, I guess, as the public meeting. If anyone intends to video or audio tape this meeting, please notify me before we start the meeting. Seeing none, we'll start the meeting. I am going to skip the approval of minutes for the reason that we have been informed. People are probably aware of the fact that it's been a difficult weather week. We've been informed that the community center will close at 7 o'clock. So while this meeting was originally intended to possibly go longer, it needs to end at 7 o'clock. We have two items on the agenda. One is a presentation from the Water Wastewater Commission, and the other is continued conversation and presentation of the current town annual budget. I will first then turn it over to the Water Wastewater Commissioners and ask them to please introduce who is here as guests. And if you would like to, any of you would like to join us here at the table, please do.
I'll let you two go up. So I'm Noreen Donahue, I'm the chair of the Water Wastewater Board. Getting up now is Jason Trapania, our superintendent, and Sandy Seeger, our utility controller. And I'm not gonna call the board to order because of the weather week. They weren't able to make it, so.
Thank you very much for being here.
And I don't know if you wanna, I mean, we're gonna try to do this in 12, 13 minutes. I don't know if you want like an overview, or if you have looked at the material and have questions about what has changed, or what, as far as the FY27 budget and capital plan go, what are your wishes?
Why don't you try to give a brief overview, and hopefully people have had a chance, you would send out the information earlier and can ask any questions they may have.
Okay. You want to take it?
Sure. Water Department, FY 2027 budget. We put a lot of this together. You will see some increases. These are due to utilities. We have a debt service that was increased due to project Route 28 borrowing. And our indirect costs, they also went up, just like sort of a lot does. So that's where you're going to see most of our changes, our increases in our budget. I don't know if you have any questions on that.
There's a mention in the revenue of, it identifies it as being a decrease of almost $170,000 of rates and services. Could you please comment on what has happened with rates and services?
This actually did not include the base rate increase. So this should be $200,000 more. We just discovered that it wasn't included in the FY27 projection for water rates and services. That actually was effective July 1st, 2025. So in FY26, it went from $45 to $55. And so this will should be about $200,000 more.
So the sign is correct, did she
Yes.
figure it out?
Yep.
So the total revenue, Sandy, should be $200,000 more?
Give or, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so 5,674 approximately.
Going up like $30,000.
We, in regards to water rates and services, we are also going to be, having a rate study done in this fiscal year because our debt has increased and, we wanna make sure that we're also contributing to our retained earnings.
Charging enough in rates to make sure that you're a net positive,
Yes, yes.
through that mechanism.
And I will add in that, the second line from the bottom on the first page, where it says water miscellaneous, that actually includes a settlement amount of, I don't know, about 250,000 or whatever, which we got a settlement for PFAS work in the future.
Yeah.
And we will be continuing to get, more of that settlement money over the next couple of years. And, at some point, we're gonna separate that number out so we can follow it, but that's another reason.
Yeah, we had talked about having a PFAS.
I sent that to you.
Yes, you
didn't
did,
I?
and yes,
Yes,
you
you did.
created, and I need to put in a request for transfer
Got
to
it.
move the money from our miscellaneous
I was
into.
like, I remember this.
Yes, you
Yeah,
did,
okay,
thank you
good.
very
So do
much.
we have any potential liabilities out there associated with that?
No,
No.
not
This
at
is all
this
money
moment.
that's just coming in
Yes.
as revenue, period.
Right,
Yes,
at
okay.
this moment.
Hopefully it's forever.
So, you're referring to that as being in the FY '26 year-to-date actuals,
Yes.
that it's
Yes.
that big because of this settlement?
Yes.
Right.
But the '27 budget doesn't have an expectation
No.
of another big.
That's
component.
correct. It will be moved out into its own line item, and, yes,
But it's not in here at all, there's
But-
no expectation in the
no,
budget.
there's not.
So, but are we getting some, I haven't looked at that in a
We
while.
are gonna be getting some,
Right.
but we don't know when.
Okay,
There's
all
a
right.
couple things that they're
Fine.
they're
So in that
settling
sense,
on.
there's a possible upside, component that's not.
You know,
so
on the other
reflected.
hand, just to throw out there, when people have PFAS problems, they're millions of dollars and they happen overnight, so.
So your bargaining units all settled, contracts?
Yes, yes.
We have one last one that is to be voted on.
It's not signed in ink yet.
No, it's not, but it's close.
It's
It's on,
close.
it was on the agenda for Monday and the meeting got canceled, so it should be approved on
And
Monday.
it's the largest
We-
group of employees. in
And
the
5
town.
in our department that are
Yep.
HEA, so we will need to adjust the salary and
Across the
wages for
board.
that.
So it is not reflected,
It is not,
the expectation of
I found that out.
of what you'll get signed is not yet reflected
that's correct.
for that particular year.
That's
But
right.
we have a bucket.
Yeah, that you talked about it.
The one big expense change was the gas utility expenses, electric utility
Yeah.
expenses.
Up to your electric bill lately?
I know.
Yeah.
Is that it?
And we have like
That's our
12
biggest
accounts,
expense.
yeah.
And, but also, I have a little background,
It's
I'm
in
gonna
this
do a
number.
deeper dive into that and,
In the water.
you know, maybe there are some programs we
But
can work in cooperation with Eversource over, but, I mean, that's a real number, scary as it is.
Yeah,
Transferred
that's,
over.
everything runs that we have on electric, so it's,
Part of the downside of our being told to go all electric these days?
yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any opportunity in the future or plans to add any solar anywhere? Or- I know you participate in the landfill thing or not, but
We have part of the
did some-
landfill, well, a lot
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
landfill was
Yeah, no,
based
I see
on
that.
our meters. We also have several leases for the, equipment on the tanks. So
Okay.
we are
Telecom, yeah.
collecting, revenue from the cell towers, but
Yeah, and I had somebody contact me with putting another cell tower on, water department property. So, we're constantly looking at revenue to try and
I would
create.
just say electric utility is just gonna keep going up. I
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
I don't see it coming
Yeah.
down
Yep.
in my lifetime.
If I could throw in, the biggest change you're gonna see in the water department over the next couple of years, you'll see it, in our budget in terms of the debt service, but it's really from our capital plan, and it doesn't show on our capital plan because it was voted 2 years ago, so it's dropped off. We're doing the biggest project we've ever done, it's 2.5 miles of Route 28. to upgrade the water main, 17.5 million, it'll probably come in a little bit less. But we've had 2 solid years of delays between our engineers and also the Department of Transportation. So our hands are full. Because of that massive delay, it causes everything else to bump back, you know, we only have so many people. So that's why, you know, you look at this and you don't see much, but we have this gigantic project that we're waiting for the permit to go ahead on. Still waiting for the permit from the
So is there an
department.
the 3
expectation
million?
as to when that might
that,
happen?
that we estimated?
That's the 3 million that we estimated.
Okay.
Yes,
That we put in
Cool.
for
yeah,
that.
no, we're fine.
And then, once that gets bid, we'll know the remainder of how much we're gonna have to, borrow.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
What was your question, Peter?
I was wondering when the log jam was gonna get broken, if you have a good date, like are we
No.
still just saying it might
No,
happen in the
as a
future?
matter of fact, 2 years ago, we thought we had a good date then, it's abominable, it's
Okay.
horrible.
We just gotta be prepared for it.
Okay, moving along,
Any questions, move to wastewater?
move to wastewater.
To wastewater, okay. Where it gets a little. So our wastewater, we did have, some large increases here. And the reason for that, you'll see the operating expenses, that is our IMA. It has to do with Chatham,
Intermunicipal agreement,
you know, and, we have Chatham checking a lot of our pumping stations right now, and they have people that are on call. They check them every day during the week, and we also have our flow that's going to Chatham. The flow is gonna increase due to, phase 3 coming online, so we had to add 5 more pumping stations to our operation, and maintenance agreement, and also, the flow increase going to Chatham. So, right now we have 5 pumping stations. After phase 3, we will have 10 pumping stations. And phase 3A will have 1 pumping station, so that's 11 pumping stations.
How many people are currently connected, you know?
400.
How many?
Currently connected, we put that right on there, 394 is connected right now.
And revenues, user fees, I put it in parentheses.
Oh,
Yes,
Yeah, parentheses right there, so, I can tell you this, total phases are about 1,325 projected.
Yep.
Phase 2 is, 491. Phase 3 is 560. And phase 3A is 274.
And when do you expect the flow rate to be maximum when you get all done with that? Do we-
never.
It's gonna vary as customers come on and as they
Are we
hook
limited
up.
to 300?
Right, no, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
we've done some study on it, and we won't hit 300 even when everybody's connected, we
Okay.
have some excess, so.
Yeah, we should have extra, but we'll see when that happens.
and that makes up, what you just listed makes up the entirety of the phases that are intended to go to the Chatham facility, is that right?
At the moment,
Well, and just to, and I know at some point we have to deal with, the town has to deal with the other issue, which is the ones that will not go to be part of Chatham.
Yes.
And as the sewer system is built out, when does it get turned over to you?
So that will get turned over after DEP inspections, and, basically it will go from the contract to engineers, DEP inspecting the pumping stations, and then that will get, a total turn on, and it will be turned over to us.
So you get them turned on like one station at a time, or do you have to wait till the whole phase is done?
No, we can do 1 station at a time, because,
All right. And is having Chatham do the monitoring of the stations, is that the long-term plan, or?
that we're still working out.
Okay.
We're working some of that out to see, what our revenue is, to see if it's, cost effective. And, to bring it in-house, yeah, we'd like to save money and bring it in-house and do that, but right now,
So do they have a SCADA system in place, and you've gotta go look at it in person?
we have a SCADA system at our facility in-house that we see everything. From the
Okay, but you
five,
still
from
have
the
to send
five.
somebody there.
Yes,
And that's regardless of whether it's Harwich, Chatham.
Right.
That's,
Yeah,
Right, yeah, so they calculate the flows, the daily flows.
Yeah.
And, they write all those down, record them, we do the same thing, that all gets brought back to our SCADA system, we can print out all that.
Right.
Jason, do we pay, like a VIG to Chatham for them? Is it like time and a half when they come to Harwich?
That's part of the IMA agreement.
So is it time and a half when they come to Harwich?
No, so if they're coming during the day, no, it's not time and a half there, that's part of their agreement, that they're.
So we just pay their flat rate?
Yeah.
Well, that's not too bad then.
Peter was one of the ones who wrote that agreement way
Yeah,
back.
that's not too
I
bad.
did.
I
Yeah,
know.
It's not too bad, that's
Actually,
why
I
we
don't
gotta
want to
see
Pay the
when.
same cost
negotiation
whether
the
it's our
last day.
employees, but we're not
Yeah.
paying any of the OPEB or
So,
health insurance or.
and I've opened up discussions with the operations that's there, to just have a discussion of, we have 5 more pumping stations coming
Yeah.
out. We need to sit down and
Right.
work this out.
Because as soon as they have to start hiring people to deal with Harwich, they're gonna push back.
Right,
Yeah.
right, so, yeah, I opened that discussion to say, can
I'm
we?
not sure Chatham's adding as fast as they had planned to.
Right.
And people aren't hooking up as fast as they probably would, so.
Right, right.
So how does the deficit get funded? You guys,
How does what's that?
how does the deficit get funded?
Through general fund subsidy.
General fund subsidy, okay, just, again, I'm just asking that for the record, and to make sure that people can understand if they see the budget, that what is listed as $780,000.
Could I add something to that?
Sure,
I wasn't gonna go into this tonight because of short time.
Yep.
So I'll just be really quick.
Yep.
I'm sure this is something that I'm hoping is gonna wind up in the FY 28 pile of, things that were resolved. Because, you know, sadly, as we've had different finance directors and administration over the past few years, different methods have been used. So now, the funding is planned for this year to strip the department completely. A few years ago, we used to keep a little bit of retained earnings, and we used to keep the value of our estimated receipts. That was a few years ago. Last year, the interim finance director left us with $111 and our estimated receipts. This year, I had many conversations with the acting town administrator, and I understand that the plan is to take our estimated receipts and everything, really. So, I mean, it's a difficult year, and, you know, things happen, and that's life. I'm just letting the finance committee know that as we go forward and discuss FY 28 and things like that, just as we need to build a plan for the staff for the wastewater plan, hopefully we'll also get together and figure out a plan for the wastewater monies, a weird subsidy situation. Because for us, we never know till the end of the year, and this is not a reflection on Jen. This is on the previous 4 or 5 years. But unfortunately, it's just fact, we always get pushed to the end, and it just feels like a money grab, you know, every year, you know, and unfortunately, usually the town's running low, and that's the way it is, so that's reality for this year. We're hoping we can all come to a better agreement going forward.
I think I'm very confident that, we have a new sheriff in town.
Right.
We have a new deputy in town, if you will, and our discussions, at least so far, have led us to believe that these folks have a good handle on what needs to be done. Everything is not done. There's a lot, I mean, you know, we've been going through 204 and all that stuff. A lot of stuff they have on their plate. They have to prioritize what gets done, and we have to get to town meetings. So I think this is the year we just all have to say, okay, we expect next year to get a lot of these things cleaned up, and they will. I mean, I have high confidence.
If you can be patient about the 204, Peter, I can be patient about a
We
couple
withdrew
of
our
things
article. We
myself.
withdrew our article.
How's
based-
that?
Based on the discussion we had last week or whatever.
So if I may quickly
Sure.
just chime in. So the new buzzword in my life is forensic accounting. That's the fun that I spend my days doing, right? So I have, since we originally spoke, started, you know, my forensic accounting into the negative retained earnings that happened in the wastewater fund for fiscal 23 6,
Six they call it.
right?
Yeah.
So essentially, when I came on board, right, the board, the select board was chomping to get free cash certified. It was just take the numbers as they exist and put them in the DLS, right? Which is what I did. Took the numbers that existed, put them in the DLS. There was no analysis on my part, no work starting, take the numbers, put them in. It resulted in a deficit balance in a capital projects fund that was tied to the wastewater enterprise fund at the DLS. What I've since found that I can update you on is that there is in that fund also probably more projects that are not wastewater projects within that fund. There is a great deal of activity that should have never been booked in that fund.
Right.
And unwinding that has been my nemesis. So it is a ton of entries that went one place, were moved from that place to another place, and then from that place back to that place, from that place to another place, partially to another place.
Pretty much
And I'm-
none of which had to do with wastewater.
And I'm gonna speak to that in a minute.
So the point is I could sit here and guess all day long that deficit doesn't belong to wastewater, at least in full. But I can't change it until I have proof and I can say, here's where it goes and here's the backup for that. And I correct the accounting.
And that's
Right.
why we're being patient, because we
Yeah.
know,
And I'm doing that too.
I know, we know you can get to the bottom of it.
I'm on both of them.
And it will be,
I
it will be
think
straightened
again,
out once and for all.
based on time, we're going
Yeah,
to,
yeah, we're
unless
gonna-
somebody has another,
I have something really important to say.
okay, let me check on question, on any must-have questions.
Scott
We
has
have-
I apologize, I didn't hear the answer as to how the deficit is funded. I thought I heard it's a subsidy. Is that from the general fund?
It's-
Yes.
It's paid from the general fund, from the town.
And that shows up in the sources and uses statement on the transfer line, perhaps?
So historically, it's been funded through a withdrawal from the Special Purpose Wastewater Stabilization Fund. We plan to do that again this year. It needs to be added in because we didn't have their budgets when we prepared yours.
Okay. All right, that's fine for now, thank you.
Okay, Bob, so, and I'll try to be real quick, but it's really important to me. The issue of the $287,000 allocation that was put against wastewater. I just wanna say, after there's been, a lot of stressful times the last couple of months and back and forth trying to get a handle on this, and the numbers will be sorted out, I'm confident of that. Errors can happen. We went through a risky period with financial directors coming and going very quickly. My statement right now tonight is about language and pronouns. Just as when we talk about financial directors and errors, we don't mean Jen. By the same token, our board, what's most important to us is that when people speak about this issue and they say they, or they say we're moved to, they are clear that it does not mean the water wastewater staff. Because I heard the discussion on February 12th and it was good, but I also heard the words used sometimes like they could have misapplied a capital expense, or I know, it's on tape, but what I'm saying is we know that means financial directors, but the public could easily infer that refers to Sandy or to our water wastewater staff. So going forward, we'll be patient, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands that the staff that has been doing this work for 20 years, I would not ever want them aligned in any way. So.
Well, thank you, and I can say from working with Jen on an everyday basis right now, she's been diligently trying to solve this problem.
Right, I know
and
that.
has made humongous, and when she says they, or when we say they, we are not talking about the staff
Right.
at the water and wastewater.
And I
enterprise.
think we'll all be more careful
Yeah.
that way. And I'm gonna give a present as a side. This, Jen, is every single article that deals with wastewater from way back before
It's
Muddy
like
Creek.
Christmas, Jen.
It is.
From
It's like-
We should have wrapped
before,
it.
hang on, from before even the wastewater fund.
This is perfect.
I made 2 of those. Unfortunately, that's my last one, so maybe somebody at town hall can
Well, I'm
scan
gonna
it
scan
sometime,
it.
yeah.
And then I'll
And
happily pass it on.
And I want you to know that I had two of those, I gave one to the previous TA, so I don't know where that went, but that should save you a lot of digging.
I've been doing a lot already. I
Yeah.
probably have half of these already.
I'm sure you do, but I just
But this is great.
I think
So-
we
have to
move
move
on.
on.
This is
Yeah.
something about capital if we need to, because we're running out of time.
Well,
Sorry.
what do you wanna say about that?
Well, I don't know, do you have anything you wanna tell us?
I told you, we have a road to build and we have no money left in wastewater.
Okay, we got it.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And we will get updates on the financials.
Yes,
If we
absolutely.
get them, right?
Sorry to put everybody under the
No,
gun.
that's all right, we'll leave,
Okay,
we'll-
okay.
Thank you.
Get
Thank
your-
you.
If you
Thank
have
you,
any
folks.
questions,
Any
feel free
follow-up?
to
Yeah.
email me
Yep, no problem.
with anything. and-
good seeing you.
Thank you
You
very much
guys
for-
are an open book, so.
For coming.
Yep.
I really
Anytime.
appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Nice to see you.
Have a good night.
Good job.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks a lot.
We'll get there.
Yep, we will. If I hang on.
We'll laugh about this
It's
a
just
year
a
from
slide
now.
deck, so.
I think we will.
I think we will too.
Especially because as she unwinds a lot of these things, it will result in more money for the town. Because it was
Yeah, I
improperly
know,
booked.
this is hurting
Yeah.
the town.
Yeah.
I don't really want one of these.
Okay, yeah, you don't like that. I'm a paper guy, you're a computer
And I'm
guy.
leaving with all this
Yes,
paper.
yeah.
It's gonna get scanned.
Since we get some blue glasses, we ought to see it right up
Right?
here.
You going first?
Yeah, I'll go
The floor
first.
is
yeah.
yours.
All right, thank you very much for having us tonight. I think this is an opportunity for us to go over the whole FY '27 general government budget as a whole. I think it was very helpful for me last week to hear both superintendents present their budgets as it relates to the town budget, and I'm really, having heard those presentations last week, I think this is a phenomenally strong budget that the finance committee and the town will ultimately be pretty proud of when it makes it to town meeting. So we'll just jump right in. So obviously Tony worked on this, and I want to start off by giving Tony a ton of credit. He did an amazing job putting this budget together. He was spent 6 months in the role as interim town administrator, did an amazing amount of work, and him and Jen worked really hard putting together a presentation for January 5th, and we just made a few tweaks over the last few days to kind of right size it for where we are today. But ultimately, this is basically the same budget that was presented to the select board on January 5th. So desired outcomes through this year's budget, we're all new. Tony, myself, Jen, we're new. So I think the benefit of that is we have fresh eyes to look at a lot of these things and try to come up with different, as you've heard over the last few meetings, different ways that we can resolve problems and also try to be more efficient as a community. And that was really the priorities as it came to this. So, when Tony created this budget, along with Jen, working with the department heads and the select board, I think what's really important is we really talked about level services. And although that was a little bit unclear with what we talked about last week, I can tell you this budget is a true level services budget. There's no new initiatives that are proposed in this or no new staffing. This is a true level services budget. What we did do to be able to create some of the expense changes that you're going to see further in the presentation is we left some positions unfilled that we've had a hard time filling over the last years, and rather than cut the position, we just didn't fund them for FY '27. So not only did we not add staff, but we took positions that we've had a really hard time filling and we left them unfunded in FY '27 to kind of reevaluate those positions moving forward and decide whether they're truly needed or not. But important to note, there's no cuts in the budget. No one's losing their job. Town staff can sleep well at night knowing that there's no cuts proposed in the FY '27 budget as well. So that's it. We looked at ways to shift priorities to be able to balance the budget and to create a real level services budget that met the priorities of the town. So through that, we established accountability at all levels and went through a process that I would say, having heard how Jen did it and Tony did it, which is really, it was a zero-based budgeting approach. So they started, and what that means is there's different ways to build budgets. What Tony and Jen did in the last 6 months was what I would consider a zero-based approach, where they started at $1 and justified all of the money in the budgets, in the department budgets moving forward, which, on a year-to-year basis is a lot to look at. But I think with new eyes, with new people involved, it was a warranted process, and you'll see that as we get further into the expenses. So what that means is they looked at historical data and started from $1 and justified all of that spending, which is, I give them a lot of credit. That's a lot of work, but it is justified when we get further on in the presentation. And then further, Jen created a system for evaluating budgets during the fiscal year. So that's something that's been lacking here, and I think that leads to a lot of the issues that Noreen just brought up. Is she put processes in place. We had a department head meeting last week where there's going to be an opportunity for department heads and Jen to work together through the year to be able to evaluate the budgets and make sure that what we funded makes sense for the department. So how did we do? So they created, and I can't take credit for it because it was done before I started, but they created a structurally balanced budget, which is probably the most important thing that the role can do, is to create a budget that we bring to town meeting. And I know there's been some history around that in the past, creating budgets that aren't structurally sound. This one is structurally sound. This budget stands on its own. There's limited to no use of free cash for ongoing obligations. Like I said, a review from $1 was started to look at the budget, and most importantly, and I think what takes Harwich and puts it in a really good spot as we prepare for potential economic downturn over the next few years, is there's a really strong emphasis on conservative revenue estimating. So we have an opportunity here to say, this is where we think we're going to go with revenue, but this is worst case scenario. The upside is the upside. And that's how we create free cash, and that's how we move forward in the future, is being conservative with that revenue estimating. So to do that, they looked at budgetary actuals from the prior fiscal years, but didn't just take that into account. Like I said, they went from a zero-based approach and were more granular with the account level detail. So they really looked at where were we spending the money. And I can say, I know this has come up in every conversation you guys have had, the budget that we have in front of you, with the exception of HEA, which we have a pocket of money to fund that, we fully fund all of the 7 collective bargaining agreements in this budget without any need for additional funding in FY27. So what's been negotiated and what will be signed off on Monday night in the last agreement is fully funded in this budget.
It will just move from one pocket to another pocket.
So the methodology created to create this budget around the revenue, and I think, like I said, the most important thing that Tony and Jen did when they built this budget is they were very conservative with the revenue. Around Proposition 2.5, new growth, we'll get into that a little, state aid, local receipts, all the different sources of revenue. These are worst case scenario around the revenue estimate, so that creates potential upside as we move forward. And I think what's important to look at that, and you've seen this at the select board meetings over the last 4 or 5 months, is they've really gone through and evaluated all the different revenue opportunities for the town. Every department head that collects revenue has come in front of the select board in the last 6 months to evaluate what they're charging and make recommendations as to whether that's correct or not correct, and make changes based on that. And I think that's important to do, every once in a while, because you've run into these situations where some of these departments haven't looked at changing their revenue in 10 years, and obviously costs grow exponentially. So that's played out, and that will come into play when we talk about some of the local receipt stuff as well. And then, as we talked about with expenditures, we're looking at shared opportunities, fixed costs. Some of those are our contractually obligated costs that are driving the departmental expenditures. The educating department heads to be able to efficiently manage their budgets. That's something that Jen's really spent a lot of time on. Like I said, we had like a 2-hour department head meeting last week just on helping department heads understand what their responsibilities are versus what Jen's responsibilities are as it relates to managing the budgets. And then something that's really important to us that we're hoping that you guys as a committee buy into is we're very interested in moving forward with best practices around the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Award that they issue. And to do that, we need to work together as a team to be able to put together a budget for when we get to 28, 29, that will hopefully win that award and prove that this town is fiscally strong as we know it is. So to that point, Jen has been here in such a short amount of time for the annual financial report. It has already been submitted to the GFOA. So there's two different parts. There's the budget award, and then there's the comprehensive financial report. And she's already submitted the financial report for GFOA for this year, for 25. And then, one thing that I'm really looking forward to working on is analyzing, probably my favorite part of the job, well, one of them, is dealing with analyzing departmental organizational structure and looking at what makes the most sense. So, I peaked right up when I hear Jason and Noreen talk about, well, what are we going to do moving forward with those pump stations? Are we going to add staff? Does it make more sense to work with Chatham? Those are conversations that I love to have, and I think there's an opportunity, obviously not just with water and wastewater, but with the entire town, to look at like what makes the most sense. Just because we've been doing it for 20 years this way doesn't mean that's the way we should be doing it, and sometimes it takes a fresh set of eyes to make some of those changes. So we're looking forward to that. And then living within our means, and I think you'll see in this budget that truly is reflected. So budget assumptions around 2027. That's the hardest part, is you're creating this budget around assumptions that you really have no idea what's going to happen. You're doing this in December and January. You don't know where state aid's going to be. I can say with this budget, at this point in time, we followed the governor's budget, as both superintendents told you last. Those are the numbers we plugged in. We think those will probably change. It's not going to result in a ton of money for Harwich, especially because we don't take the Chapter 70 money in on the town side, So not going to change a lot, but we have the governor's budget in right now. We're still sitting strong in this budget with the 4.7% for Monomoy. Totally, and I hope Scott's watching, understand this is a conversation that's going to play out, and we're going to find a middle road. We're going to find a middle road that will work for Monomoy and the town of Harwich. I can't say that at the end of the day, the 4.7 is going to be the number, but that's where we're holding today, and we'll continue to have conversations with Monomoy around that. So, but we're not going to let the school fall apart on our watch. It's not going to happen. We'll figure it out. So, but in this budget today, we're still at 4.7%. We have a 4% increase estimated around our property and liability insurance. Same stuff you heard last week from both superintendents. Utilities are up, property and liabilities up, health insurance, we thought it was going to be a lot worse, so we're kind of glad it's only at 8%, but we had 7% built in the budget, so it was an increase of another percent. And then one of the bigger changes that you're going to see is we've moved, Tony and Jen worked together to move a lot of the what we see as non-operating line items that were built into these budgets. We moved them out and put them in articles, and we're funding them differently, and that's what that's why you're going to see some of these really changes in the percentages of expenses in these departments. They're actually lower than their FY26 budgets in a lot of places, because we found a lot of places, preschool, human services, dredging, OPEB, these are better placed in articles and looked at individually annually than baked into the annual operating budget. So, so we're moving some money around there, and that helps us with the bottom line.
Can I just ask a question on that one, or is
Yep.
that okay?
Yep.
On the human services line item, just for fun, those are in the 500s. There's one called the Jim Noonan Human Services line item. And that was at $83,250 in the current budget, and it's at 0 in the next budget. That line item originally came to the budget. It used to be an annual article that was there every single year. This particular article has been out to a permanent override twice in its history. So it's been fully funded in an override twice. And it's in the budget now as a 0. So I'm really concerned that that money isn't somewhere.
It's in I believe it's in an article, Dana, but given the history that you just told us, we'll have to look at whether maybe it's accounted for funding wise in FY27, either through an article or in the operating budget. But based on the history you just told me, maybe it makes more sense. It'll be a net 0 change to the overall situation, but maybe if it literally went to an override twice to fund that, maybe it should stay in the budget, But
yeah, I saw the,
we're meeting tomorrow morning.
0, and I said, I figured it's somewhere, but I didn't know
Yeah.
what it was.
I mean, I
The
can't.
first level was many years ago. It was like at a $44,000 override, but then the next one was $76,000.
So-
That's been, and this goes back to the nineties, basically, but it has been fully funded twice in overrides.
Yeah, and I should have started this off, actually Jen told me to start off this way and I screwed it up. These numbers are gonna, everything you're gonna see here tonight is what you have in front of you, right? It ties to what you have in front of you. Tony and Jen and I are meeting in the morning, and I guarantee there's going to be some changes after our meeting.
100%.
She's got a list of things we need to address in the morning. So things are gonna change again tomorrow morning, and this is the stuff that we've taken out of the budget and put into articles is part of that conversation, because there's some situations where Jen's 100% acknowledged that we have it in both locations right now. So that's why there's, that's a good problem to have at the moment, you know, better than the other way around, so.
So let's move on.
Sounds good. Does that answer you,
I'll be
Dana?
watching that one.
Does that answer you, hopefully?
Yeah,
So that's some of the big changes, is we took some of these things that we see as non-operating and moved them into articles. So big picture snapshot on where we're at. General government budget on the town side, 51 million. 34 million for the schools. The offset expenses of about $500,000 for a total budget of 86,737,000, which is a 4.6% increase from last year. So we'll jump into revenue. Our government revenue is made up of property taxes, state aid, local receipts, and then other sources, as we've talked about. When you look at what I would consider our cherry sheet on the revenue side, the biggest jump you're going to see is in new growth. Jen and Tony, when they looked at this, different ways to look at new growth. I think long term, over the next couple of years, we're going to try to work with new growth a little stronger with the building department and the assessing department, so that we really feel tied into a number when we present it. But I'm going to be honest, for this year, we went off historical averages. So the 361 that was presented last year was historically low. It doesn't really tie to any factual data. So we looked at historical averages, and that's where the 550 came from. So
Do you have another copy, Jay? Sorry.
I do. Yep.
Thank you.
Everything else on this page is basically tied to Proposition 2.5, and there's not a lot of wiggle room with. These are numbers that were either given around assessments, debt exclusion numbers, or the new Proposition 2.5 and the levy limit.
I will say the debt exclusion number does include debt that we added in fiscal 26 that will first be on the rolls in fiscal 27.
Sure.
So that's the increase there.
So then we jump into local receipts, probably the biggest bucket of money that we have some flexibility with, because this goes to our charges, to what we charge and what we collect for different charges outside of the levy. Motor vehicle excise, pretty much set, you know, that's just looking at what we bring in and then looking at increase moving forward. Same thing with meals, hotel, room. These are taxes that are taxes, but charges that we collect in town. You guys you're all very familiar with them, and we just have to look at historical trends and try to see how those are doing, and then that's how we estimate moving forward. That said, there's some significant changes here that are 100% tied to what you've seen at the select board meetings. So those rate increases that have been approved by the board conservatively take into play here. And I say conservatively because there's situations specifically around building permits where we didn't even capture half of what we believe could actually come in.
Correct.
So I think that's a really strong point for the town of Harwich right now. So I want to, at recreation, this jumped out at me given our conversation around the rec revolving account 2 weeks ago. I was like, holy Christ, we bring in $4 million in recreation outside of the, so recreation is golf, beaches, moorings, harbor.
Sure.
Not recreation, not Eric's program.
Yeah, not the rec program.
Not the rec program. And that makes up a huge bucket of money for us in local receipts, and I can very confidently say this is extremely conservative. So that's good. So then we.
Can I, just a quick question back, really, again, for the recording. Debt exclusion revenue. That is the taxes that the town is collecting annually based upon prior elections, town elections that, where debt was approved by the taxpayers.
But it's only
And
based on
we're
debt
now
that's
kind of-
actually been borrowed.
I'm sorry?
It's based on debt that's actually been borrowed,
Approved and borrowed,
approved and borrowed.
and is now being collected as the tax component is being collected annually.
Yes, because it's only the exempt debt, yes,
Right,
correct,
okay.
yes.
So moving on to our last bucket of revenue is our other sources. This makes up stabilization payments, the indirect costs that you just saw when we went through the water and wastewater funds. These are other revenue sources that we bring in. The PEG money, the old articles, the free cash that's utilized to pay certain things, like we're proposing to pay at this point today, it may change tomorrow, but we're looking at funding your fund through free cash. So that's the 175,000 that you see.
The reserve account.
Yeah, the reserve account is through free cash, and that's why you see the 175 in the bottom. May change tomorrow in a conversation, but that's where it pops up right now.
And in tomorrow's iteration, after, when we meet tomorrow, you'll probably see a wastewater stabilization number populate here for 27, because we typically pull from wastewater stabilization to fund the wastewater subsidy.
Yep.
So,
Can I ask a quick question? Only that since the subsidy is gonna be more than that amount,
more than what amount?
well, right now on the reports, and I don't wanna tie this up, but it was 780 as it stands,
Yep.
so not 603. Just mentioning it, not to resolve, no?
603 was 2026.
Okay,
2027 is nothing right now.
okay.
in
So
there.
we'll use the 780 number.
Yeah, the 780 will populate
I
in the
see.
27 side.
Thank you.
So then, because everybody,
Excuse me, again, just for clarification, so, indirects is the town's ability to charge water fund for
our
indirect-
costs,
for a number of expenses that are allocated to the essentially
Correct.
allocated to the water.
yeah,
fund,
so
right?
for the easiest one to look at is, Jason gets health insurance. That's covered through the town budget, so we send basically an offset for his health insurance costs. Another one would be Jen and I's time,
Me,
yeah, working on this stuff,
Yep.
so those are the indirect costs.
The other is, you comment on what overlay surplus, what the word means so that people know what
Want me to go?
Yeah,
that is.
you
Yeah,
go.
so overlay surplus is, people have the right to file for abatements and exemptions through the assessor's office. We have to have funding for those things when they get approved. So we create an overlay to be able to fund abatements and exemptions that come through the assessor's office. And that's tied to DOR. DOR kind of guides exactly how much money we need to have in the overlay. If me as the town administrator says, let's not give them money this year, let's not put money in the overlay because we need it on the other side, DOR slaps our hand and says you can't do that.
Can't do
You need
that,
to keep
yeah.
the overlay at a certain amount, so.
Thank you.
And then,
Overlay is the only one that cost us $2 for every dollar we get back.
it's a good way to look at it, Dana. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last week, the superintendents gave you the fancy bar charts here, so we had to do that as well. This is how we spend this is our revenue. Obviously, most of our revenue comes through the tax levy, which in Harwich is residential taxes. The second biggest bucket for us is local receipts, which we just talked about. But this breaks down all of it. 74%, almost 75% comes to us through the levy in Harwich. So I'm gonna turn it over to Jen. She's gonna go through the expenses, and then we'll open it up to any overall questions.
I'll try to be quick here so that we can keep moving. So this is representation of what our departmental budgets basically come down to. You can see that all but two are actually declining for fiscal 27 versus their fiscal 26 budget. Public safety is up, and public works is just slightly up. But this is, truly an example of the rework that we've done to kind of restructure and realign our expenditures with where they should be.
And I just want to pause for 1 second and just acknowledge what this slide shows. This slide shows that outside of two departments, Public Works and Public Safety, every other department of the town is asking for less money than they did in FY '26. That's pretty strong.
So with the school, again, noting that we are maintaining our 4.7 original increase in the budget. They are currently higher than we are right now in their current iteration. However, to Jay's point, we have a great collegial relationship with them. We feel like we're gonna find a middle ground somewhere between where they are now and where we are now. And the Cape Cod Tech number in here, we actually did get an at-worst number since giving you guys your books that is better than this. So you'll see a lower number in another iteration coming up. But this is
So just for clarification,
Yep.
the Cape Cod Tech number that's in here now reflects the presentation that was made last week? No.
No,
the Cape Cod Tech number that's in here is what we originally started with.
not the one
Okay.
from last week.
Okay. No.
Yeah,
Got
so
it.
it's to the good.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the new number is better than this.
Okay.
Yep. So shared expenses, these are things like, benefits and insurance, general property and liability insurance, OPEB, unemployment, assessments. Again, so OPEB, there was a bit of an anomaly where they paid more than the policy required in '26. We brought that down more in line with the policy requirement, this year. Insurance, and benefits, this number has changed also because we've got the final set at 8%. Mind you, by the way, that some of the bucketing in the GL is not super great in how it will eventually be. So that 9.26 is not completely representative of it's not just representative of medical.
Got it,
So the health portion of that went up 8%,
got it.
but there's other items in there. So debt service. So this is general fund debt service only. It doesn't count water debt. So proposed, this is also going to change just slightly. It should come in after tomorrow, roughly about 4.6 million in total for fiscal '27. But again, this is just general fund debt service, not including water and not including the schools, which are in their assessment. Total expenses, you can see that the town expenses and the school expenses in sum total are pretty close to one another. And then we have the shared cost, which is a smaller slice of that. You can see how that breaks down. Debt service, 4.4 million, and transfers out 554. And then I wanted to give you a pie chart too that just showed every category of the budget and kind of gave you that lay of, how much are we paying to each of these categories. I thought it was pretty striking to see that education and public safety, just the two of those combined, are more than 50% of our budget. A picture is always compelling though. You can look at numbers on a page all day long, but a picture is so compelling.
That's also sort of what we're about, right?
Yeah,
Education, public safety,
Yeah.
I mean,
that's it.
But it's
People.
great. So what questions do you have?
Yeah, that is about the fastest you can do
Zoom, zoom,
$80
zoom.
million.
In the expenses, the obvious focal point, you said that public safety is the one increasing, and in public safety, the two departments that are where the big increases are, as you'd probably expect, police and fire. Can you make any particular comments on how those two increases can come about relative to a year ago?
I may have to get back to you on that because Tony was a lot closer to that in detail than I was. So I'd like to meet with him tomorrow morning, and if you don't mind, I can shoot you a very detailed message in answer to that.
Absolutely.
I know that it's tied to collective bargaining, so.
Yes.
Well, again, and it stands out, and
Yeah.
it stands out in going through the whole budget. You kind of go, well,
That's
there
where we're
aren't too
spending
many,
our
there aren't too
money.
many $500,000 change items.
That's where we're spending our money, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Dan?
The beginning you said that you used a modified zero-based budget approach to
Correct.
constructing. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so there's two different ways, there's a lot of different ways to look at budgeting. One would be basically just say level services, which level services would be that we're gonna take everything we did last year and we're gonna look at what that's gonna cost to do next year and we're gonna call it good. And zero-based would be, we're gonna start at $1 and basically justify all of that money from the first dollar, not just look at
I
last
know a
year.
little bit about budgeting,
Yeah.
so when you're saying zero-based budgeting, you're saying that you went through individual line items?
I sure did.
Correct.
Really?
I sure
Yes.
did.
Yeah, so that's why, like, she didn't have that in the slide from January 5th. And when she explained to me how they got to where they're at, I said, that needs to be acknowledged. You know, that needs to be acknowledged. That's
a lot of work.
yeah, that's a zero-based approach, you know, yeah. And that's why.
But it was worth it.
But, I mean,
Well,
Honestly,
you
and I
didn't
knew it would
challenge
be.
any of the, you just took what was the base and built the figures from there.
No, they challenged them.
No,
Yeah,
so
they challenged the
basically,
figures.
I challenged everything. And then
Well,
when
that's
I
what I
came,
meant.
yeah, when I
that's
came
what
to
I
the
meant, yeah.
end, I compared it
Yeah,
to
yeah.
where we were.
Yeah.
And, you know, if there was a big variance, then we'd talk about it, right? Tony and I would talk about it,
And I think that's how you see this. Like, you can't see this otherwise, these decreases. You can't. There's
you
no other way to do it.
Eliminate any expenses from that approach?
Sure, I mean, we changed the way maybe that they appear in the budget.
Shifted
Shifted non-operating items out of the
categories,
operating budget.
yeah.
Shifted some things to other areas where they should be versus where they are.
Warrant articles.
Absolutely.
And
Capital.
also, in
Capital items.
but yes, they cut stuff as well. Like, for example, positions that they had historically not been able to fill,
Sure.
they didn't just carry that money forward. They said,
Okay.
we're gonna cut that money out.
That's how.
Well,
Yeah.
we had situations where we had money funded in the salary lines for a position, but it was unfilled for 4 years.
4 years.
So we
Yeah.
were paying an outside consultant to do the work. So we were budgeting for the consultant and the salary.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, well, if we're not hiring anybody, why don't we budget a little bit more for the consultant and drop the salary line until we figure out what we're gonna do?
So for instance, the town engineer.
That's it.
Pardon me?
I know, which
That's
we
exactly
had,
it.
I
we
just
had
didn't wanna-
discussions with the previous regime
Yeah.
But that-
years about
Not
that.
a new conversation.
Yeah.
That said, to me, a town engineer is a critical position. So
Absolutely.
like, I don't wanna say we're cutting that position, but
yeah.
yeah, we looked at it differently in FY '27.
But until then, we don't need to double fund it.
Right.
It's money held hostage in the budget.
Exactly.
And that's and that's a healthy conversation. While you say needed, it's a healthy conversation as how best to get the work done.
Correct.
Yes.
And
And right now, yeah.
So which takes an evaluation of the work that
Yes.
this town needs engineering for.
Right.
And
Yes.
then a conclusion from there.
So I felt like when
Yes,
she
we're getting down
explained
there.
this
That
process,
wasn't a question. That was
when
just,
she explained the process that they went through, that's a zero-based approach, you know? They started from $1, justified everything, and that's how they got, like I said, this blew, when I looked at this slide, like, every budget except for police and public works is less money than 26. Like, how does that happen? Through that approach.
Okay, the question we have on the screen is from Scott.
Thank you, Bob. I'm curious about the items that have been reclassified out of the operating budget and into, you said we're going to move them to an article. So for instance, the child care subsidy of $250,000 is out of, I assume, the human services line, and that's part of why it's going down by 1.1%.
No,
Where is it going?
to an article, to a warrant article.
So where is it going in the sources and uses?
No,
statement?
nowhere on the sources and uses you have. So typically the source and uses would have another section for capital. Tony gave you guys capital sheets. It would have a capital section, and then there would be another warrant article section, a water section, a wastewater section.
So it may be funded, say, with free cash, Scott.
Well,
So child care subsidy is funded with free cash?
No,
But it
I'm
has to be
saying
somewhere as an
that,
expense
I'm saying it's
on the
not being
sources and
funded,
uses, right?
it's not being funded in the operating sources. It is being
Correct.
funded by another source, like potentially free cash.
And
Each article states the source.
You're
and
not intending to raise and appropriate any of those.
no.
correct.
Correct.
And I think, Scott, the best way to handle this would be to let Tony, myself, and Jen meet tomorrow morning and then define all this in a document to you.
Yeah,
Because right now, there's stuff,
I just,
there's stuff, Scott, that's in the budget still and in a proposed article. So we need to really beat that up together
Okay,
and then present
Okay,
it to you.
We're going,
but you're not asking for an override of any kind
No,
No.
for any of these things? Okay,
Nope.
good.
yeah,
okay,
they're funded, yeah.
first, is there anything else really pressing, cause we're hitting 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, we're hitting deadline here. Okay, I see none.
10
Peter.
second question?
No, Peter.
Alright, so tomorrow you're having this powwow.
Yes.
Can we expect by early next week, are you gonna take it to the selectmen on Monday?
I don't know, it's not on the agenda for Monday.
it's not,
Well, I don't know what's
When-
gonna happen.
When would we
Next-
expect to
next
see a
week,
version of that?
Next week,
next week,
next
yeah.
week.
Next week sometime?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and do you expect by the following Monday, the selectmen may actually say, okay, we'll lock in a budget at that point?
I don't know, probably not, because I'm
I
not
doubt
there
it.
yet. My guess is that this all gets screwed up over the next 2 weeks, because
Okay.
I'm not here yet, so,
Alright,
um,
and when do we
Realistic.
start paying you?
16th, yeah, 2 weeks,
So
so,
we're getting all this stuff.
yeah, so I
I
think
can only
like,
imagine how
I-
good it's gonna get after this.
the next 2 weeks are gonna be a little wonky, and, I think we'll just have to hold tight the best we can. You guys are gonna did you get articles?
Well, no, that was what I was going to say.
Yeah.
We need to be getting
I
articles.
have 9 articles that you can get right away. Natasha will send them to you.
Okay.
So that maybe will keep you busy.
And
I
those-
have a few proposed changes
So those
to
are
them
presumably the
tomorrow.
9 that are on the schedule, that have been checked on the schedule.
Correct.
The other chunk, which essentially you don't have any influence on, that we would definitely get a benefit from also having, are the petition articles. So that, because they are likely to be articles that we will want to be able to schedule people to come in and speak to.
We'll get you those very quickly.
And we know they exist somewhere.
Yeah, I have them in my email and they are all certified and I can get you. So if for the next 2 weeks, because I won't be able to be here the next 2 weeks and things are gonna be a little weird. If we could get you a bunch of articles to work on,
Please do.
that would
That's
keep you
exactly
busy.
right.
All right.
Thank you very much, appreciate the
That'd be good.
presentation. And we've reached our time limit. The only thing I need to know before we adjourn is what we want is, anything particular we want on the agenda for next week. I'll put articles on as they have been. Any invitations that anybody thinks we need to make, because I'll need to make them tomorrow.
If you have petition articles, it'd be nice to get those people in here.
Exactly,
Just get through.
I'll see if I can get you those
I
tomorrow.
need to get the articles to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I might be able to get them to you tomorrow.
I think I will probably list you guys again on the agenda.
Okay.
You can come or not, but I'm gonna put you on
We're
anyway.
meeting here or over there?
We're meeting, let's see, here.
So I'm gonna be traveling the next 2 weeks, so I won't be
You
here,
won't
but
be
Jen
here,
will,
Jennifer,
yeah.
right?
We're meeting here.
We're meeting here. Yes, we're
When?
meeting
When?
here, next Thursday.
Next Thursday. okay.
Right,
In
okay.
that mode now.
Move to adjourn,
So moved.
I second.
all in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
We're
Let's go
adjourned.
home.
I too.
Do we make the time?
Thank you.
Just
No, we blew it.